Mr. Agnew, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, of course, we're talking about the subject of novel foods, and this would appear to be a power grab, taking more power and responsibility from the Member States and handing it to the European Commission. As usual, this is being done under the pretext that it's going to save everybody money. That's always the way it goes. Our British government, it would appear, can no longer decide what is fit to eat in Britain. It's got to be decided by a panel of commissioners, etc. Now, the whole thing is very, very worrying. There's this term, cultural objections. Well, in Britain, there is a cultural objection to eating horse meat. And the EU had control of labelling. We were assured how wonderful all that was going to be, and there would never be anything wrongly labelled. And of course, horse meat was being sold in Britain a few years ago, and it was being labelled as beef. In other words, the EU system did not work at all. The system in place for labelling was called HACCP. It was an acronym, HACCUP, which was quite a burden on anyone in the food industry. And yet, what did it count for? It meant horse meat came into our food chain. There's another problem here, and that's with definitions. The word primary production is mentioned. Now, in the English language, in this particular context, primary production means from photosynthesis only. That's all plants. And the word meat isn't mentioned in this regulation. The word meat is not mentioned, which means that bushmeat, which is a strange sort of meat for those who like eating crocodiles and monkeys and snakes and that sort of thing, that technically isn't even covered in here. So it's not surprising I'm strongly objecting to this, and I would insist that the British government decides what is fit to eat for the British people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honourable members, many thanks for your questions and comments, which we have taken note of. Maybe I go per theme to be fast and clear. Regarding the definition, yes, it is. We do not want to extend the scope of the existing regulation. So the definition which was agreed in conciliation is the one which is now in the proposal. But we can understand that it could be interpreted as being too vague, and maybe there is a possibility to be more specific or to put again certain categories in order to give the legal security. The intention, of course, is not to extend the scope to the existing regulation. As I explained, the purpose of the proposal is to streamline the regulation, but not to make the scope too vague and difficult for applicants, the Member States and us. Now, what is novel would be novel throughout the Union, meaning that if there is a new food in one Member State, it would be new throughout the Member States. So it is not a matter of obliging other cultures to eat a food. It is a matter of ensuring that if there has been no such food in any of the Member States, that such food, if it enters the EU market, is safe. And it is safe if there is an application for it and it is risk assessed, and the risk assessment confirms that such food can be eaten. That still leaves the full freedom to any consumer to eat this food or not, because this ingredient, first of all, will be labelled on the food, and we know that today already there is food which is eaten in certain Member States and no such food is eaten in others, and there is a freedom of choice of the consumer. So the intention of the novel food is precisely to ensure the safety throughout the Union.